Hi everyone, I'm making this video to show you how Windows system programming can also make you very good at malware analysis and reverse engineering. It will improve your skills because when I look at skills required, sometimes I don't see that listed. But I think knowing or just tinkering around with system programming will help you a lot. Learn about the Windows API, and if you are mostly working on Windows binary, like knowing more about Windows API functions, I think it's a great way for you to have a grasp of like how things work when you decide to reverse engineer a binary. So let's find an example. Here may be a program. So before that, let me show you. So my setup is just I have VMware, and then I usually have different machines for everything, for each step of the malware analysis and reverse engineering process. So I have a static analysis VM that I use for basic static analysis, and then it's a Flare VM. So if you don't know what Flare VM is, it's something that's created by Mandiant that's going to help you learn more about malware. Let me show you Flare VM. Mandiant is a company that's now owned by Google, I believe, and they make tools. So it's just a collection of tools that you can use and download, and then you'll be able to use it in your Windows machine. So here's an example, Flare VM. So you have everything here on this GitHub, and you have steps by step on how to install it. And it's a great thing. It has so many tools, so it will take a lot of time. However, you will have a lot of things. So, and then I have a dev machines. That's where I write things like scripts or stuff just to learn about like Windows system programming or anything that I use. And on top of that, I have a dynamic machines. That's where I do most of the dynamic analysis, like reverse engineering. When I reverse engineer, and then when I decide to do things like debugging the code, or things like so whenever I find myself in a problem where I will have to unpack dynamically, it's kind of a good way. Or if you just want the your binary to interact with the command and control server, and I think that helps a lot. So now let's see now why I think that learning about system programming in Windows will help you. Because if you think about it, what is a malware? At least in Windows, most malware in Windows are written in C or C++, and then but it's just messing around with system, with like your OS. So it's most just system programming, because a lot of the time malware is a software like any other thing. The only difference is that malware is just the intent. That's all, most of it. So it's just doing things that you're not supposed to do. And I don't know, so maybe we should try something. Maybe let's see, if I have a notepad here. I know if you could try a program like, let's see, we can create a file. And then also maybe create a directory, and after that, after we create a directory, and then we could also move the file inside the directory, and I think that will help. Okay, so now that we have this, what do we need? We know Windows API has functions, and sometimes like a lot of malware writers, if you look at some malware code source, you will find a lot of a lot of Windows API is used. It's a great way to interact with the Windows OS. And then so to create a file, we'll probably need like a function. Windows API will have a function. So I'll just show you how we go about it. Let's go to like create file, Windows API function. It's just So see, Windows, Microsoft has like a good resource where you can see all the functions. So here's a create file function. We have create file, and then it's in the file API, but usually you can just, so we have the function here, and then you have the parameters of the function. So each parameter has something like its name. So you have the name of the file here. So this is just a description of what the parameter does. And anybody, like if you are, especially you're a junior analyst who mostly just does like basic static analysis, and you run script or something, you will find a lot of functions, yes, but what does the function do? You can read, however, I think it's always much more better for you to just write code and see how the code functions, and then from there I think you will learn a lot about like how it works, and that's a very great way. So maybe let's open our IDE to create console app. Creating a console app is going to show us something. Okay, so now we have console application, right? This is C++, but usually we can just delete everything, you know. Okay, so we need to import our Windows API library. Let's just import it. So we need to include Windows .h. Now that we have our Windows included, let's just get like int main, and then we can I'll just leave it with no parameters. I think that will be good. I think I'm just gonna go down and like create just a return 0 for just return of our main function, and then from there, so when you see here like importing windows.h is going to give us access to all the Windows API functions, and I think that's a great way to do it. Just here we are working on C++, so we need to follow the conventions of our programming language. Okay, so what do we need? We needed to create a file, and then when we look online we found a create file function. Right, here's a create file A, but yeah, so we use that. Let's just create file. Okay, create file. You can just, usually you see you're gonna get a lot of like, once you start creating, you're gonna find it. So this is like a create file function. You see it's already here. It shows us you have a create file, and what do we need? Okay, so we have the parameters that it requires, right, and all the types, but we need to store it, right? Because if you really understand, it's important before doing anything to go and look at the return, what the documentation says about the return function, like what the function returns. So let's look at, probably have to scroll, yeah, so look at the return value. So if the function succeeds, right, so it's like it's a handle that it returns. So that means we are creating a handle, or like opening a handle to the file. And so that means we also need to store it in a handle, right? We need a handle, maybe. So what do we say? Profile. That's, yeah, I think it's usually easier to do it like that. We see all our functions here. What do we need? So the first argument is, here we know when we look back at the documentation, it says like the long pointer file name. So long pointer is just the time, right? So we're just going to have like so let's say our created file, let's do our created file. That's the first part of our, and now the second part is the access mode. So access mode is just, we have it here, desired access. So we have like generic read, generic write, or both. So this is what it explains. The most commonly used values are generic read, generic write, or both generic read and generic write for information. So you just learn more about everything here. Now, what do we do? Let's just do a generic read, right? Because we are just creating it. And if you look at it, you just have like auto completion, right? This is the generic read, right? And then we're not trying to share anything, so let's just do 0. And then the security attribute, I think we should just go null on this one. Let's do null. So a security attribute. What else do we need? We need so here it's like, now we are here, right? Security attribute, we are good. And then it's just a creation disposition. So you can do like always create or not create if the file exists. So I think we should just have, let's go with always create. Always create. So create always. Create always. So create always file attributes. Okay, so we're just gonna file attributes normal. Like you'll find this all on the documentation. So but here I'm just going to show you, like, not teach Windows but yeah, so we're just gonna do file attributes. We need it to be normal, so we're just gonna go yes, normal, and then yeah, let's go no. Template file, because we have a create always, yeah, so we can use it, but we don't need it anyway. It's important to do this. So right now we already have our file, right? So if we run this, it's going to create a file. But also there's an important thing here. We need to check things, because here you see like it creates a handle, right? Like it returns a handle, like opens a handle. But the thing is, what happens if it fails, right? If it fails, then like we need to do error checking, because it's going to return, I think if it succeeds, it's going to return a 1, and then if it fails, like it's going, no, if it succeeds, a 0, and then if it fails, it's like going to return the like invalid handle, or like handle error. So we need to check that. So we need that if condition here. Let's say if our file, if our file is, because it returns what we call invalid handle, like you'll see it here, I think. Let's see. The return. Yes, so here when you look at the return value, it says if the function succeeds, the return value is an open handle to a specific file. And then if the function fails, then the return value is invalid handle value. So now what we need is like, we need to check for this, like what you do if it returns this. Or all we do is like if invalid, yes, I think it's in the invalid handle value. If invalid handle value, what do we do? Right. Then what we do is, okay, let's print something. And with Windows API, like message box, let's get a message box, because we're trying to learn about Windows API. So there's a message box function here, message box. Now we're not looking for Windows, like a specific window or anything, so that one is going to be no. Just if you need more, refer to the message box. And what do we need? We need to print something on the screen. And what does it say here? It's still like a long pointer char, wide string. So what do? We return something. Let's say maybe file creation for AL. And then here it's like caption, right? So we're just making sure it's an error, so we're returning an error. Let's just say error. I think error is good for us. Now what else do we need? But here we are with what? Message box. How many parameters? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So now the fourth parameter is, it's just MB, okay. Okay. We have MB, okay, and then, oh shit, I could need this, man. MB, okay. And what else? MB, okay, MB icon error. Icon error. I think we need MB. MB icon. Yes. Icon. MB icon error. Is that so? MB icon error. Okay, I believe we're good here. Yes, looks like we're good, so we just need to, like, it's a statement, like we'll return, let's say 1. Right. Now, what do? I think we are good with our error checking. So that's like our if, right? What's our else done? We could just do else what, right? Let's forget, man. Like sometimes you don't have to do, I know it's tough, but yeah, if and else all the time. But yeah, so there's a function close handle, because if it doesn't succeed, it does this. But what happens if it succeeds? We're good, so we need to close the handle that was open, because the handle will still stay open until you close it, because the file handle will be staying open, but after that we can close it. So there's a close handle function, I believe. And here's the parameter of the function. It's a bool, but yeah, close handle, and then it takes the object, handle object. So we are just I believe it's our file, and it's, so now we have closed the handle. What do we need to do next? Now our file has been created, right? Here we created and then we stored it in here. Okay, so next what we need to do is, what were you saying here again? Create a file, and then we create a directory, and then we move the file to the directory. So in Windows API, there's a function, create directory. Let's see here, create directory function. Create directory, Windows API. Like, don't worry about the A and the W and all that for now, so we're just gonna use like simplest ones. Yeah, so internet is, I don't know what's happening. Okay, so we are create directory, and that's a good thing, because create directory only takes 2 parameters. And what does it say? Create directory creates a new directory. So what does it do? This is the file name. It takes the path. And here's the tips, what it says, right? Starting with Windows 10, you can opt in to remove the Macs. It has like limitations and stuff, so here's what we need to do, right? So a pointer, now what does it return? It returns the value. If the function succeeded, it returns a non-zero value, which is and then if the function fails, it returns 0. Yeah, okay, so looks, we have our create directory function. Let's go and create our directory, or we could just make something like fancier, because what does it do? We're just trying to create it directly, so we can just do like put it in a condition, you know. Even here we could do it, but that's just like programming preferences. So let's just go with like, so we don't have to do like so many things twice or something like that, right? So let's create our directory, like if maybe like directory creation is, yeah, if create directory, if create directory. Now what are we going to create our directory? What does it say? Like, our first parameter is it takes a path, so we can just store it in, let's store it in our C drive. And what do we need? Remember, for the maximum path comment that it was telling us earlier, just need to escape it. So let's just say created directory, right? I think let's be consistent. Our creating it direct, our created directory. So yeah, that's going to be in like C, so that's a good thing. And then I don't think we need all the security attribute and stuff, so we can just put it in null for now. And I believe now we just need to go into the body of our if of our condition. So here we assume that create directory has succeeded, right? So let's get a message box. Let's get a message box with a message telling us, like, I think let's just, I'm getting tired of typing all this shit. Let's just have this here, and then we can just, so we have null, and then here we just say what, because here it's like indicate it's positive, and we're creating a window that will say file, let's say directory creation was a success. And what do we do here? It's success, so we need a success window. And MB is okay, icon. Here you're just telling us what it is, so we're just gonna use icon instead of arrow. Let's go with information. Let's go with what, information, right? Yeah, icon icon information. MB icon info icon now icon information. So that's our message box that's done here. Okay, now we need an else. And what do we do with our else? Oh man. What do we do with our else? Oof. I think it's just good for us to have another function, right? Let's just do so this is a success. Let's just copy this here. I just copy all of this here and then I'll paste it here because we are just doing like let's paste it here, and now we just need directory. Directory creation failed. And we return. What do we need here? Let's just, yep, failed. And then return. Return one. Oh, I don't know, whatever you want to return. So if our directory was created successfully, we print was a success. Else it was else I believe it's not a success. So we're getting an error, but that's just compilers fucking with us. So let's forget about that for now. But I think I will see what happened, because if we have an opening here but we don't have a closing, I think that's what's fucking up with us. So I think we need to open it. We need a closing for our if statement. Right, we do if was it no? I thought we have, let's see, that's the body of our if. but we need it here. Okay, so what do we need here? Else, like, we got our message box. This is our message box. And now what the hell am I doing? Sorry guys, like, I haven't written code, I don't know, since in like, I don't know where I was, since what, December? I'm a rookie, aren't I? Okay, I believe we are golden. So we are done with our two functions. Now, what else do we need to do? Now let's go to our notepad, move the file inside the directory. So see, now I think from now on you already know that Windows API, like in Windows 8, you have so many functions that you can do all the file system stuff, like creating, moving and stuff. So let's just move our file. Now, yeah, I know if there's any programmer or software engineer here, I'm sorry, you're like a computer science professor, I'm sorry, I'm not into like cleaning code and stuff. So let's go. Now we need to move a file. So if move file, I believe there's a function, yes. If move file, okay, move file, what do we have? It's just taking our words, existing file name, and then it moves this. So it's, you see, it's just like current file name and then destination file name. And now here it's important, right? Because we do less actually, that would be probably very interesting to check. Let's check a move file function here. Do we even have, I think we should, lmn, no, we have read. Okay, let's find move file. Move file, yeah, so it moves an existing file or a directory including its children. So we have it here, right? Move file, and we have file name, and then what does it say with our parameters here? It says the current name of the file directory, right? But you know, like when you do stuff like that, you need, it's important to think about path, right? Because naming file paths. So what's the return value? It succeed returns a non-zero. If the function failed, it returns a value 0. So we just need, now it's important, right? Let's go back to our code here. Okay, so we are here, right? So what do we need to do? Why am I having an error? I think it's probably something about our files. Okay, so move file. Now what am I trying to do here? We're trying to move file, and we need certain things. The path of where the file, where our first file is. So what do we do? Our created file. So our file has been created, so now we just need to move it, right? So we have a name is what we need our created file, right? Where is it? Our created file. .txt. Now the second function is what? New file name. So now this is like where we are moving our file to. So it is important to remember that we want to move it inside this directory that we have created, right? So what does that mean? It means that we have to have all the path. So we need all this into here, but don't forget that we're just doing this so that we can make it into a long. Okay, so we have this, and what are we doing? So we could change, but yeah, so our created file .txt. A created file .txt. So we have if, and then what do we need? It's the body of our statement. That means we need what? Well, here's what we need. Yay, a file has been created. Another message. I'm getting tired of this message box. Maybe I should do something else. Control C. Let's say file creation was a success. File moved successfully. File moved successfully. And we still remember, right? We had a success, and then let's just get an information. I believe it's icon. Icon information. Yay. Okay. Now that we have this, what else do we need? We need an else statement. Else what? Else, you know what happens? It's just error handling, man. Else. Ooh. Else is a statement. Now we do a message box again. Failed moving file. Yeah, I don't think we need to change anything here. And from there, we just return. Yeah, let's return what I'm trying to do. So we have everything we need. Let's return 1. And I believe that's it. Right, so let's see our program here. We open a file handle or create a file, and then if the handle here, and then we store that handle inside here. But if it returns invalid handle, that's like if it succeeds, it just returns like the open handle, right, as you said in the documentation. However, if it fails, we have this message error, and then same thing, and then we close our hand. It's always important when you're doing Windows system programming, especially using the Windows API closing handle. Yeah. So we create a directory. Yeah. Yes. I believe we Gucci. Okay. Am I wrong or am I wrong? Am I right or am I wrong? I believe it's good. And it says no issue. So what do we do? Console application. And yeah, I'm going to compile it on a x86 because I think it's good to just learn x86 because in that way you are going. I think it's just easier because the when you learn assembly and the registries, there's not that much difference to be honest, because the registries of like are just like how big the registers are. Most of the time, like registers in assembly, like with 86 x86 is 32, and then with x64, yeah, 64, right? So we're just gonna do build solution. Now let's pray. Oh no, let's pray. Okay, did it work? I think it should work. Says what? One success. Yeah, okay. Now let's go find our program. Where is it? Console. Okay, debug. Now let's go find our program in here. You know where it's located, right? We go in users and then dev, and then we go to source, repos, console application, debug, and application. This is our x86. Now let's run it. I need to run it probably like it built something, but let's check first because I didn't do any error handling about like whether file exists or not. So I'm going to first check and make sure that it did not create it directly. No, directory was created, so that's a good thing. Let's go back. Okay, so we have our program here. Now let's run it. Yay, what does it say? Directory creation was a success. Okay. Oh no, it failed moving file. Why? I think we probably made a big mistake on our names. Okay. Let's see why. Okay, we have our created file. Directly create success. If move file, our created file .txt, and then where did we go again? File success else. So what happened here? Oh, I think we forgot something here. Did we forget something? Why did our code not work, right? Why did it not work? What did we miss? I don't know. So let's look here. Our created file.txt, right? Okay, something happened, right? But what happened here? We have file created, our created file, it returns like that. That's also good. Created the file, but it created it, but it did not move it, I believe. Let's see here, because here's the file. It has created the file, our created file, right? It created the file, but it did not move it. So what happened? If move file, let's check our move file function like this. We screwed up something in our move file function. And that's yeah, see, that's like our created directory. Our created file. So we have our file, but we need to move it to, what do? We need to move it to the, oh, I see what happened. We created the file, but we didn't even like, I think we made a mistake here, so it doesn't match the file that we're trying to create. So let's do it again. .txt. Okay, so let's delete this, and yeah, you see what happens, right? So this is just like debugging. So let's go back to our root, and then let's delete our directory as well, because I didn't do any error checking for like if it exists. It's not even error checking because it's just about the parameters in the Windows. So just read more about the documentation. You'll see like here, I think when you look at like the generic read and write, you can like create always or like open existing. You can just do that here. I believe if you look at this, it's like create always. So yeah, you can do like different parameters when you read it. So let's try to rebuild our project again, right? I don't know if we should just, are we trying to rebuild our solution? Okay, now we go back, and then users dev source. Okay, so now let's see. Directory creation was a success, right? Remember when we talk about, yes, so this is a success window. Remember when we wrote success, just like see everything success, like yay. So you see here success, file moved successfully. Now let's check it. Remember when our function failed, the file was right here. Now that it succeeded, that means it moved it from here to inside our directory. And where was our directory? It was in here, local disk. So here's our created directory, remember? And this is our created file, it's inside the directory. Okay, so now let's go to IDOPro and check something here. Let's close this. Now it's a good thing that you have a program, right? You have created it, but Now let's reverse engineer the program and check it out. So we have our IDA. Let's open IDA. So IDA is a program that people use to reverse engineer malware. It's probably like the most popular in the industry to use, like as a disassembler. And so we can use it to, because our program now has compiled, right? So let's find this again. So it's users, dev, we go to source, Visual Studio, so you know. And then we have, it was debug. Sorry guys, so console application and then debug. So we have our program, right? Console application. Now let's open it. And we are trying, it says, yeah, it's an x86. So we're going to open it. So right now here, it says there's a debug, but I just want to, we don't need that right now because, you know, it will give us more information. Because here what it says, right, was linked with the debug information. But debug information is going to give us too much information, so we don't need that for now. Could not find a signature. Let's do, okay. So as you know, when a program opens, before it runs, remember when we had main? Oh shoot, let's open our Visual Studio again. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have closed that. I'm sorry guys, I shouldn't have done that. What a dumb fuck I am. Let's see if, yes, so this is the program that we had, I believe, right? We call it like entry point, or yeah, so because, you know, like in C++, like, yeah, so now we're gonna need to jump to like where our program executes in IDA, right? So let's go. You see it has all the arguments, like the stacks, that it has prepared everything. So now we jump, right? Remember the jump instructions. Okay, so now we are here. Okay, so remember our function, right? So what do you need? Like you have a piece of software, right? You have malware, right? Let's just consider that this was our malware. And here I assume that you have a little bit of notion about or the collecting a binary and everything. So we're just assuming that here what we have is a piece of malicious code. And then you did all the normal stuff, right? Like, so we have over here our application, right? It's just like a normal program, x86. So we are here, right? So you have, this is all the assembly code. And remember when I was compiling, I decided to do it with like 86-bit instead of like 64, because I think it's just easier. Not even easier, it's just the name of the register is a little bit different, but and also how big they are. So now we have, it's just pushing stuff, but you know, like when we're talking about program, like malware analysis is all about pattern recognition. So we have create file. You see it here. You found this. Remember, like, if you don't know much about Windows API or like system programming, yes, you might just see this and then you can Google, right? So all you do is like you have a create file and then you're gonna Google create file if you didn't know what it was. But from now we can just assume that our malware is trying to create a file, and we even have like here the parameter. But just also it's important to remember that malware writers are not going to be this kind to you, right? There will be obfuscation or like packing and all that stuff. But here we're just learning about Windows system programming and how it makes us better at like understanding Windows API. So also we know that like function calls are like functions, parameters are stored in a stack. So stack, we all know like the concept of stack play a huge role in computer science, whether like in compilers or like data structures and algorithms. So here we have like a stack, so it just pushes things in the stack. But also, as you know, like the concept of the stack, it's like last in, first out. And if you go to our code, like create a file, don't worry about the WA and stuff. Create file, and remember on our code we had like here it shows us everything, right? Like the shared access stuff. But you know here this is the last one. But if you remember on our code we had the first parameter, but as you know, like when it comes to like a stack or function calls, or it's like last in first out, or is it first in last out, sorry. Yeah, last in first out is it's like potato. So now you have here, right, our create file function, and then this is all the parameters, but it was like the other way around. And you see it here, right? So you already know, I mean, as a malware researcher or reverse engineer, you already know. Also, like, you know, offset, but all that's like goes in with like compiling, right? Like when it goes all the linking and the stuff like that. So you have this. What does it do? It's like if you go to strings, you'll probably like find everything that we were looking for, right? And everything that we were looking for. So usually you have your either. I think usually like the first thing people do a lot of the times when they open a program is just like to go and look for the strings, but we also don't need to do that because we have it here already. Like, so what does it do? Creates a function, and then yeah, what does it? Creates a file, right? Yeah. And after that it calls, right? So function call, right? Create a file. Now if the file has been created successfully, it will return. Also, like, it's important to remember that with like Windows programming, a lot of the times, or like in assembly, like when the function call happens, after that it stores the return value into the EAX register. So you have it here, the EAX register. And what it does is like, here it's a compare, right? Compare, it's like it's just compare is like an if in assembly. So let me know if you want me to put like introduction to assembly, because I think that will help a lot. So compare, we have an object, right? So it's just comparing the return value that was stored in here, because once this function is gone, it will return this, whatever value is stored in here. So you have a compare, right, and a jump if not zero. So this is just like the compare is just subtracting whatever value it has that's left, because the function will return either a 0 or 1, I believe, and then after that, yeah, it will just subtract. And then once it compared it, and then if like jump not 0, so this is just a jumping statement, like if like this, if it succeeded or not. So here you have it, right? It created a file, but what we want to do is like jump to this location here if it's not 0. So if like the comparison between whatever in here is and the EBP plus the handle object, so that's like what it returns, right? The handle. And so it's just comparing the two. And after that, so because here you see that, right, it returns the handle object, but and then it stores it like the handle object is right here. There's something that they call, so it moves it inside. So it's right now it's moving whatever is into the register to like here, and then now we compare this value here, and then you see like the value. So it compares the value in here to whatever in here, and then if it's 0, that means the function failed. Remember like Windows API, like it returns a non-zero value. If we go back to create file function, we know that like the return value that Microsoft told us on the documentation is that it returns a non-zero value. So if we compare this here and then like we subtract and we still have a 0, then that means our function failed. So you see here, so here like if it's 0 like jump, not 0. So it only jumps in here if the value that's left here is a non-zero value. So we're here. Otherwise, the function succeeded, it returned a non-zero value. So we'll go here to our next stuff. So after that, we are create directory, and now you see stuff here. But you see, what I'm talking about here is like the most important thing is it's good that like you can just Google a create file. If you just like take a binary and you reverse engineer it, and then you find like functions, Windows API functions here. Obviously you can just Google them and then see what it says, and usually with strings and stuff like that, you'll always find it. Like malware writers would have stuff like that. You'll be able to like know whatever it's doing, but it's good. But is it really as good as like if you had written like a few times, like written like code and then Windows system code and just try to like navigate the file system and a lot of the basic stuff? Like you would know more about like the Windows API, and then like I think it's easier because you remember like if you just Google and then like create file, yeah, you will understand that it's trying to create file, because usually like you don't really need to know assembly in depth though, like because this is one of the biggest mistake I did. I even had went to take the compiler design class in school, and it was just like crazy. So let's go back to my VM. So but yeah, you can just look, usually create file, you know, like it's creating directory after that, and then it's moving our file, and you have like even like more interesting things here, like the strings that will show you how like you see stuff, so which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so here I have like we're just exploring IDA. It's been a long time since I use it, so I don't know if much changed, but this is all what we're doing. But I just think that when you learn about this, it will just help you. So I think, yeah, so let's just do like, yeah, go to strings, and just gonna see like, you know, so many things. So yeah, you have our strings here, and yeah, IDA is really nice. See all the options it has: rename, convert, and do a lot of stuff. You can do so much here, and yeah, you see a lot of things, and yeah, it's nice. But as I was telling you, it's just important to see all these things. For me, I think, yeah, it will help you, and you will see like more and more of this kind of stuff, these kind of videos, right? Because you have like our IDA view, but then you see imported, because usually you see all the imported functions, right? Create directory, and usually once you see all of these, like these are the few first things that you do, right? Once you open the program, and you'll be able to Google them, like so many functions. Like also, you know that these like the DLLs, and what it looks like, we look at the export, but these are just here, and from there like we just have so many other stuff we can do. And I believe like when you look at the imported functions, for example, it can give you an idea of what a program does, obviously, but also it just helps you like a lot to be able to know, because if you have not written the program, then like use those functions in writing programs, will you be able to? Oh yeah, you will, but it just helps. But also you'll be able to implement a lot of things, even like just trying to do like writing malware code and a lot of things. But yeah, right guys, let's wrap this up. It's like all over the place, so I will try to edit, but I don't know if I'll be able to edit it as much. But the good thing is that, yeah, you'll be able to see a lot of things that I believe will help you. And yeah, but you see what I'm talking about, right? Like all the ifs. In assembly, you just learn a lot about ifs and else and stuff like that. But yeah, you just realize that it's actually really easier than you think it looks like, because sometimes you get like people telling you that it's really difficult, but it's not really as difficult as people will make it seem. All you need is just learn a few things and then you're good, and from there you can move on to do other things. But yeah, from here we just, yeah, right now I think I'm just fooling around looking at, like, it's been a while since I've been looking at the IDA Pro, which is kind of crazy. You have many different examples you can use, so don't worry about all this stuff. I'm just looking at, like, alright guys, I think I showed you the necessary, and I will be like uploading more videos. So let's continue and work on our stuff, because this is like not something that we are working, we're not like doing IDA stuff. So right now, let me stop recording.